a tomboy. That girl is a tomboy. That girl is a tomboy. Who that? Who that? Who that? Princess Nokia, baby fat. I be where the ladies at. Who know how to shake it?
Macho culture, we always talk about its impact on women, but it impacts men too. How do you think it
impacts men?
Yeah.
I think it makes them want to live up to this standard that they think is a normalcy in society. And that's not okay, because then it makes men think that things that aren't okay and normal. And that breeds rape culture, that breeds domestic violence, that breeds disrespect. I mean, there are large connections statistically through it. There's just no getting around it. Machismoism can be very, very negative, especially to the man of color, because the man of color comes from a culture that is culturally machismo. So therefore, they're feeling like they have to uphold a family standard, uphold a street standard, uphold a cultural standard, and the idea of what it is to be a man in itself. And sometimes that idea, I think, gets a little construed and can be harmful to the young men. Yes, that's true.
I think in interviews, we were talking about this, Nokia, women are always, how it feels to be a woman in a male-dominated industry, like the same questions. What questions do you feel like men need to be asked in interviews that they're not asked?
I feel like there's a total, like, do you ask, are you, how do you, we get asked all the time about what it's like to be a woman in the man's world, in the man's perspective, in the man-dominated idea of hip-hop. But no one ever asks men, yo, who do you think is the dopest female out right now? Or what do you think of female hip-hop? Or what do you think of just the idea of women in general? You know, those are questions that are being geared with positive, with the awaiting of positive responses. There's going to be if discussing women, there will be a negative connotation, and I can't speak for everyone. There are definite amazing male allies, rapper allies that do support women, that do glorify women, that glorify these wonderful, you know, the essence and the glorification and the beauty and the respect of women. So I mean, there's the side that's ugly and that is patriarchal and sexist and disgusting. You know, it's a large problem with date rape culture in rap now, and Xanax, and young men date raping young girls at these types of events and environments. No one wants to talk about that.
Or asks men about
the
that.
endangerment of women.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When women are some of the biggest supporters of hip-hop in itself, statistically.
And always have been.
And always have been.
Mm-hmm.
Always have been. So, essentially, they're not concerned with the demographic of their fandom, of their music, which are the women that innocently support them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, at the same time, it just seems, in observing underground music scenes, because I was in a punk band in the 80s myself and hung out in the rap culture in the 90s. Mm-hmm. It just seems like at this point in time, corporations are all up in music. Mm-hmm. And definitely they're involved with mainstream music, but even in the underground. Do you think that impacts the creativity of...
I think it always has. I think that's always been their dual sides since the 70s, since the 80s, since the 90s, regardless of genre. You know, you have your underground rock, and then, I mean, like, as amazing as the Stones are, they're a mainstream rock and roll band.
For sure.
And, I mean, like, any band, of any iconic, legendary person has their start in the underground, has their start in their roots. And if you happen to go to the other side, that was the route that was the most attainable for you, and you did that. I think that most people want better opportunities for themselves and when the music industry was more financed with bigger budgets and larger assets for assisting these people who didn't have much resources, good choice, good choice. And making an investment on that person's talent. I think now, if there is any sort of industry or commercial asset to the underground world, I think it's actually positive.
Okay.
Because like I said, there are less people who have record deals. No one really has a record deal now. And if you do, it's like procured in some sort of like imprint of something where your deal is much different from other people's, maybe 10 years ago or 20, 15 years ago. So yeah, like when a lot of kids do like commercial endorsements with major brandings, I think that little black boy needs to eat. And if you want to personify him and glorify him and use his music and his style and his talent, or her style and her talent, glorify this woman and her imprint in underground culture and youth influence, then yeah, you better cut her a fucking check. Because yeah, that's like that's the underground, that's art, that's what should be on the top of an editorial or an endorsement, not like, just like some regular model from some agency. It's like what the kids want to see. So I think, it goes both ways. I don't oppose accessible capitalism like that. You know what I mean? I think greed is disgusting. Greed is fucking gross. But in the assisting of young people, money is a tool, and it helps kids sustain their lives for the lifestyles that they're leading, and essentially providing to the fashion world and the music world and capitalism, who are feeding off of youth underground trends and subculture anyway.
It's a good point. You're making more of a direct correction.
The hand feeds it, and the hand shall eat.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, it's appropriation is huge right now.
Very huge. And like I said, greed is gross. Greed is, you're gonna have, like I said, like I support agreeable capitalism. That's like a funny fucking statement in itself. But there's things where there's gray lines where things can work and no one's hurting anybody. But when appropriation comes into the lines and then people are being taken from and not given to, then that's harmful. And that provides a space of oppression and disregard and cultural appropriation and offensism. It's not good. And that's what happens. And I think cultural appropriation has always been a large part of music, in art, and in society. But we have the internet, which points it out more and gives more discussion to it. And also, there is a lack of originality in mainstream music today. It's not the same art direction, and marketing is very different in the music industry, which is kind of why I've like fucked with the idea of it, not the real shits, the devil. But like it was what it was, and in its glory. And now, like, because commercial companies own so many bonds and shares in the music industry, there is some sort of white supremacy and undertone of whitewashing and cultural appropriation that goes into these blatant looks and styles and videos and symbolism that certainly does exist and is meant to glorify white supremacy and make us look like monkeys and make us look fetishized. And it's just a 21st century coonery. It really is. And it exists, and I don't agree with it. I don't like it, and I'm always pointing it out. And like appropriation, there's so many forms of appropriation for all continents of color and people and people of color. But that happens. You're gonna want to take from the most beautiful people that exist.
True.
And that's the sad truth.
Do you feel like there's instances where it's, if it's clear cut? Like, do you think sometimes? Oh
yes. Okay. Oh my God, yes, certainly. I've seen videos where you'd have to be fucking crazy to think this isn't logistical white supremacist symbolism. Symbolism is a large thing in mainstream videos. Large thing, and
Can you think of an instance, or do you want to
Yes.
think of an instance?
Yes, I can think of an instance.
Okay.
When Katy Perry had that video where she was in cornrows eating fucking watermelon.
Okay. Wow.
And then it's the white woman with a row of choreographed, fetishized black women, which is to imprint that she is ahead of them. Symbolism, mathematics. She is always in front of them. She will always be in front of them, no matter how many of them are behind her. And you would think, strength in numbers, you have 4, 5, 6 black women who are beautiful, and why are they in the back always? Those are not her friends, but why are they props? Why are they always dancing? The watermelon symbolism with the hair, the most distinct stereotypes of black subculture, of urban subculture, with the fucking long nails. Symbolism. It's like putting, it's like putting a fucking swastika on the wall. I've laid my symbolism, you know? And that's the label going, this is it. This is like, black is really hot right now, but like also like my butt, like what she does, and I was like, somebody is like definitely going like, we gotta like.
Set it up specifically.
Yeah, making fun of us.
Okay.
Totally. It happened. It's there. It's
Okay.
there, and I see it, and it's clear as day. And, you know, big fuck you. Big fuck you. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.